Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight. We're running just a few minutes behind. We're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Crystal Johnson, and I am the chair of the Gifted Advisory Committee. We work with the school board and the school system to implement programs, work very closely with Dr. Fowler, to implement programs to assist and affect the gifted students in our public school system here. It is my pleasure to be here to host this advanced program night. We've been doing this for about 4, 5, 6, 7.
Oh, probably more. Hosted by GAC for 2 years, but more than a decade.
A long time. So tonight we have the director of Blue Ridge Governor School, who will be starting us off, Ms. Wanda Elliott. And then we're going to have Dr. Meg Smith of Maggie Walker Governor School, followed by Dr. Fowler, who's going to talk about Advanced College Academy. So thank you again for being here. Ms. Elliott.
All right, you see how hot this is tonight. Thank you for coming out tonight. I am Wanda Elliott, the director for Blue Ridge Virtual Governor School. If you've had children in the program before, I am in no way trying to replace Mark Carraway. That's not possible. But I am the next chapter for the school, and I'm very excited to be doing this. I've been involved in various ways at Blue Ridge since 2003, so it's not new to me at all, but this position certainly has been an enjoyable change. To jump in, we are an academic year governor school. We are what's considered part-time, and basically that means that your child would spend 1/4 of their school day with us for the 4 years that they're in high school. So freshman year, basically that would mean 2 classes with us, sophomore year 2 classes with us, and so on, till we hit 8 as a senior. And typically between 28 and 32 credits can be earned in high school. So 8 credits is not too much, because the next question we almost always get is, can my child still be an athlete? Can they be in choir? Can they be in band? Can they be in all the fabulous things that go on? And the answer is yes. Good time management is critical, of course, and we work with students to improve that when we find that that's a struggle. But the bottom line is, yes, it's very possible to be in Blue Ridge and be a full-blown, very involved high school student. So in the 9th grade year with us, we have a World 1, World 2 course that's technology through the ages. So they will study those 2 time periods, which is a regular graduation requirement, through the focus of technology. We take multiple trips to Washington, D.C. We've finally been able to go back, of course, after all the previous things that have happened. We were able to go to the National Cathedral to study the architecture of that building, and then we went to the National Gallery of Art, where they studied period pieces from the World History 1 time frame. And they are also in groups working on group projects. One of the main things Blue Ridge is about is collaborative work, being able to work with people you don't know necessarily well. That's what the virtual in our name speaks to at this point. We are nothing like the virtual nightmare we've all experienced for the last 2 years from the pandemic. It simply means that we virtually connect with the 7 counties that are involved. You have a group of kids in 9th grade in world history. 2 might be from Goochland, 2 might be from Fluvanna, and 1 might be from Greene County. And they talk to each other over Google Meet and by email to do some of the legwork for the projects that they are assigned. We do have in-face meetings as well. Those happen either at a local high school or at the Best Western at Science Crossroads. So it's a combination of in-person and over the internet, so to speak, work. But that's what the virtual is about in our name. So 9th grade year is 2 history classes that count towards their diploma. The sophomore year is an AP biology course. All students that are in Blue Ridge will take biology as a 9th grader, so they have the underpinnings and foundational knowledge, and then they do take AP bio as a sophomore. They will be expected to take the test at the end of that school year, and that does involve more group work across the counties. We are very fortunate to be able to work with Virginia Tech. We've been working with a professor there for probably better than a decade on an experiment called Arabidopsis. That's a plant. I didn't know that. I do now. And what they do is they grow the seeds, and then they treat the plant with some sort of substance that either helps or hinders the growth of the plant, and all the data goes back to tech. The professor comes to us, visits with the children face to face. So it's really a powerful thing for them to really truly be involved in university research through this program. The first and second year, you have an in-building teacher. So here at Goochland, you have a 9th grade history teacher, and you have a 10th grade biology teacher. So you have all the normal supports of a regular classroom in those two contexts. Junior year, intentionally, we push them out a little bit further on the independence line to taking online coursework. Some of the courses might be through Blue Ridge. The students will choose what they take, but we have courses through University of Virginia. We have a medical class, we have an engineering course, we have a medical ethics course right now through Shenandoah University, and multiple other offerings that come through our regular instructors. There are about 12 to 15 opportunities to choose from at that point. Computer science is a big thread in what's offered, as well as some other things that would be sort of double dipping, because I know you all have a strong associates program here in Goochland. Some of the things that we offer will qualify for the things they would need to take for the associates program and vice versa. Which brings up another point, that the students who are enrolled in the associate's degree program, instead of doing the 8 credits that are required for us, they will only have to do 6. They'll do freshman and sophomore year like everybody else, only 1 class junior year and 1 class senior year, because the associate's degree requirements are so difficult. That being said, senior year is what we hope to be the most exciting part for anybody in Blue Ridge, and that is their capstone. And what that means is they get to choose a topic to study, to job shadow, and to do community service for. And it can be anything that they have a passion for, that they can find an internship, an opportunity to job shadow. So it is really, truly what their passion is. We've had students, I believe many years ago, we had a student in Goochland build a car. We've had students study dance therapy. We have, of course, the plethora of people studying medicine, biology, law, all the things you might expect to come out of a governor's school. We have a young person who's interested in being a mortician right now, so that project's going to be very interesting to say the least. But that brings up another point. Blue Ridge will offer up to $300 for a class that we don't teach, that Goochland doesn't teach, but might be in a pocket of interest for that student. It probably will cost more than $300, but we are willing to do that once they're in their Blue Ridge career, so that they can truly, truly study something that's of interest to them specifically. And during that senior year, they're going to spend the whole year researching and experiencing and being involved in the community that's evolved around that profession. And in the spring, they do a presentation to their peers here, and then do a science fair format expo up at Best Western, where all the 7 counties come together and share each other's projects and are able to see who's done what. They're also judged by a couple of people, each presentation is, and that's the culmination of their senior year. The only other class they take senior year is another online course, bringing us to a total of 8 classes. So of their whole high school career, this is not too terribly much, but it is a great deal that we offer to them. We surveyed the graduates. The school has been around since the year 2000, so we've had many students to speak to that have come through. And the biggest thing they tell us is, I was ready for the next step of my life. I was ready to deal with whether it was the university or the work world, because I knew how to collaborate, I knew how to research, I could speak to people that might be intimidating to the regular people that were around me, and I knew how to take care of it in a timely fashion. So academically, we may be the road less chosen, but certainly we provide those skills which are hard to find in a regular academic setting, that collaboration and the being willing to work with folks and get something done. The other question that we usually have from parents is, what does this cost? It is completely free. The only thing that you may end up spending money on is every couple of years they typically take an international trip. They're in negotiations at my office now trying to decide where they're going next. So that does cost the family and the student, and we try to release that information as soon as it started, so you have 18 months to 2 years to plan financially for that, because they do run, unfortunately now, $3,000 to $5,000 to travel, which is a big price tag.
But they're not required.
They are not required. That's a completely optional opportunity that could be available to you. And of course, if you're not interested in the place that they're going, you don't have to go to that either. So that being said, everything else is free. The UVA coursework is free. All the field trips are free. You can expect a pizza lunch whenever we gather as a group in person. I see nods, so like, yeah, pizza, more pizza. And certainly we have gluten-free options, and we have options if students can't do either of the above, because we're well aware that it's not always everybody's favorite. So what questions do you have in the moment? I know I just have a couple of minutes. Yes? Sorry, it's what? That is not one of the courses that we currently offer. It might be one that you could find on your own and take through any university that offers a content course in that independently. And that's one of the things that's exciting. Astronomy is not something we particularly offer. We have cybersecurity and a lot of medical stuff and all those cool things, but that would be an opportunity for you to find a course and we can pay for part of it. Yes? How competitive is it? You guys have 36?
We will have between 18 and 36 slots. For Blue Ridge, we buy a section of a class, so between 18 and 36. And we typically have about 60 to 65 applicants.
So we have 18 to 36 seats and typically about 60 applicants. So our ratio to teacher is 18 to 1, and some school systems have 2 sections, so it completely depends on how many people apply and accordingly what that looks like when they do apply.
Sorry, what dictates whether or not it's going to be 18, 36?
The quality of the applications. It has been many, many moons since we've only had a single section. So typically it's 36.
And those are locality things. Each county does their own application process. We have a list of things that has to happen from Blue Ridge, but each county works with their middle school, works with the students who have applied, and makes that decision locally. You are only going to be competing with the Goochland students. And what that does entail is going to be an application process, which is really very straightforward. Getting 3 recommendations from teachers. That's all the children have to do to Head Start. From there, there's ability testing, achievement testing, an interview, and a writing sample. And so that all happens after the new year. Yes?
So if you're going on an international trip, will you have food options for people with allergies? Or will we have to?
That gets tricky. If you're on international travel, do they make exceptions for allergies? I'm sure they try to work with that process, but that would be through the company. We typically use EF Tours, and when I've been on places with them before, they're very aware of those things and try to work with the student to make sure they're accommodated.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
When you guys have online classes in 11th and 12th grade, are the kids required to show up at school, or is that something they're allowed to do?
Excellent question. No, the students have a dedicated block in their schedule for that particular course at their physical building. I believe in life balance very strongly for the gifted child because they can get into too much. So I don't recommend the child try to take a course outside of their school day. So we insist that those courses have a dedicated block of time, depending on how long the blocks are. I'm 7 counties in, so I've lost track of who's on a 90-minute day and who's not.
Roughly 90 minutes.
So roughly 90-minute block here. And that way they have dedicated time. And they can work on it from home, but we would prefer that they do as much as they can in building.
And is there a space here that's just dedicated?
Yes, there's a space, and there's an adult dedicated to that space as well that's there for just classroom management purposes or to help with technology purposes. My administrative staff at Blue Ridge also has a coordinator for the online courses. That's her only job. So she works with the professors at UVA and wherever and the students and facilitates communication when that doesn't naturally happen sometimes. And so that we have a person totally dedicated to those 2 years of online coursework. The other thing we definitely have is a wellness coordinator. Many of the young people who come into a gifted program such as this have never had anything lower than an A. And when they hit these courses, it's entirely possible that's going to happen. That derails them sometimes. And we are not about just letting them sit there. Christy Bunovich is our wellness coordinator, and she can go out and meet with the young person as soon as we realize there might be some support needed, whether it's time management or stress or whatever it is. And then after that meeting, if things are still a little wonky, we will roll everybody else into the process, that being your school counseling team here and your parents and everybody that we can to build the team of support for the student. Because we're definitely not about just, okay, it's not going well, get out. The other piece that usually question that comes up, once you apply, do you have to reapply each year? And the answer is no. You're in for life, so to speak. as long as you keep an AB average and stay out of behavioral trouble. And even if that happens, we're going to work with you the first time, and then we'll go from there. Academically, our process is reasonably long because we're just looking for improvement. So if they get off the rails a little bit, we're going to do everything we can to try to get them back on and keep them in the program, because our hope and goal is that they will all graduate from Blue Ridge. I'm sorry, go ahead.
If you have like generally an AP average, you would get it.
Just your grades is not going to be a good indicator of whether or not you'll be competitive, because you've got things like the interview and you've got some other measures that will be taken. So if you've got A's and B's, you're on the right start, for sure. And certainly, as many of you know, the best and brightest don't always have the highest grades either. So, if you're the least bit interested in this program, I always encourage young people to apply and see what happens. And even if you apply and get in and you don't feel like it's a good fit for you at that point, we get that. So go for it if you're at least interested, and then we move forward from the process there.
Just to clarify, 100% of all the courses taken for Blue Ridge, I guess same thing for ACA, are taken in the building during the normal school hours, nothing after school.
Right. Yeah, everything's in building. There may be some opportunities for them to do stuff outside, but there is academic time dedicated to all the coursework for us. And the nice thing about we dovetail with the ACA well because it drops them to 6 requirements instead of the full 8. We also drop to 6 for programs like cosmetology and nursing and culinary, anything that has an OPTI assessment to it, which is a current technical certification. Those courses also dovetail with us, and we don't require the full 8 credits. So it's definitely something that we have designed to be a go along with as much as possible any of the other programs that might be offered here in Goochland.
Ms. Elliott, we do have some Blue Ridge students here as well. If you guys want to come forward, my Blue Ridge representative students today. And if parents or students have questions for them, they're here to answer as well.
And I'm like 4 months in, so I don't know their names yet.
We have juniors and seniors for you, so they can talk about the majority of the experience. We have just, oh, wait a minute. I was like, wait, they didn't look in the junior class.
Good evening, y'all. I'm Landon. I'm currently a junior at Goochland High School, and I'm in Blue Ridge and ACA.
My name is Paige Coppage. I'm a senior at Goochland High School, and I'm in Blue Ridge and ACA.
I'm Kaya Williams. I'm also a senior, and I'm also in Blue Ridge and ACA.
Hi, I'm Georgia. I'm also a senior, and I'm in ACA and Blue.
So you can see it definitely does okay to get.
And my name is Anna Fowler. I'm also a senior, and I'm also in ACA and Blue Ridge.
Do you all have anything in particular you'd like to share with the families?
How about senior project ideas? What are you guys want to share a little bit what your senior projects are about, just to see how diverse they can be?
And then we'll take questions.
Okay.
So I am doing an internship with it's not local, it's out in Richmond, the theater company Spark. I'm working with them as a stage manager, so I get to sit in on production meetings and stuff like that. And then I'm hoping in the springtime to do my community service with the Goochland Community Theater and get them the resources that they need.
My internship is a little different. I'm going to Lexstone, and I'm going to be shadowing the lead geologist there because I like rocks. And then for my community service, I was going to maybe go to all the local elementary schools and teach the kids about STEM and geology, to educate.
For my internship, I worked in Deltaville, Virginia, so that's Chesapeake Bay, and I worked with the yacht club, Fishing Bay Yacht Club, and I participated in Junior Week as an assistant coach, so I taught kids how to sail for my internship, and I gave a little lesson about the importance of oysters and, Chesapeake Bay health. And for my community service, I built and I installed moisture vents, so, at the club.
And then for my internship, I'm shadowing Miss East, the Workplace Readiness Coordinator here at Goochland County Public Schools, and viewing what's done in the way of career counseling at different elementary levels of education, so elementary, middle, and high school. And then for my community service, I'm making a digital resource for people to use to help them with quizzes, to find career clusters that would be best suited for them and help people make up their minds about what they want to do when they grow up.
Do y'all have any questions for the students? Yes, ma'am.
Did you guys have to seek out your own internships and replacements, or did the facility do that?
I think most of us sought out our own, but our teacher, Ms. Reard, for the internship class, she will definitely help you, and she's helped a lot of students find opportunities if you don't know what you want to do.
Yeah, there were a lot of kids who found theirs on their own, but for people who are struggling, there are a million different people at the school that are willing to help you and find an internship for you based on your area of interest.
Thank you. If there are no other questions, that's the end of mine. And thank you all for coming out tonight. We look forward to working with your students. Thank you, students, for coming out, and you're going to see them again when it's ACA time to talk about that experience too, of doing both of the programs. Typically, one of the questions that students get is basically, can you have a life and do these things? So look forward to hearing about all the things those kids are involved in a little later on tonight. Next up, we have Dr. Max Smith, who's an assistant director at Maggie L. Walker Governor School. And Mr. Smith has brought some students as well to represent Maggie Walker and talk about their experience there.
Thanks, Chris. Good evening, Goochland. Good to see you all. My name is Dr. Max Smith, and I've been with Maggie Walker Governor School now for 15 years, 6 as an administrator. I'm the assistant director at the school. And then before that, for 9 previous, I was in the classroom, and so I can handle questions for a teacher or from the administrative perspective. I brought 2 students along with me. We have Emma and Maddie. They are both freshmen, and I believe that Emma's in the midst of a campaign for class president. Excellent, excellent. So I have a brief presentation to give you tonight, but one date that I would give to you, November 9th, we're going to be having a virtual open house event. So if what we present to you tonight wets your whistle, gets you a little bit interested in the program, please do come to our virtual open house that we're having on November 9th at 6 o'clock. We have the link posted up at our website, and information will be going out through the gifted coordinator's office as well. From the picture on our title slide, you can see that we are in the heart of downtown Richmond. We're very close to the Siegel Center, close to the state capitol, the 4th Circuit of Appeal downtown, and so lots of opportunities for field trips, lots of opportunities for mentorships and internships. For tonight, for our roadmap, we're going to be going over anything from the history of the program to the support services that we offer to our students, counseling, clubs, our sports program, and academics tonight. So we'll cover a little bit of everything. The picture on the slide here is our class of 2019 in the college shirts of those schools that they were accepted to. It's a tradition that we have every spring. So first, Maggie Walker is our namesake, and we're very proud of our namesake. We have a mural on the back of the building. This is the bust at the front of the building. Maggie Walker was the first African-American female bank president in the United States. She was heavily invested into education, entrepreneurship, and equality. An early civil rights crusader, we are deeply proud to continue our mission into the 21st century. One of the ways that we do this is through our Walker Way. These 4 pillars epitomize what we strive for in our program. program in our community and also on the athletic field. Courage, compassion, community, and collaboration. Emma, have you gotten involved in community service yet? That's one of our big pillars as well as one of our requirements for the school's community service.
Yeah, thank you. So I started doing some stuff this summer at just the Goochland Library, and then I've started reaching out to different organizations, mostly for civil rights purposes, like nonprofits, but I also have been looking into other opportunities. So I think right now I have like 8 or 9 community service hours, and 140 hours sounds like a lot, but it's really easy to get when you think about how it's only 35 hours a year, and that's really not that much considering that a lot of opportunities will be like 2 to 4 hours long by themselves.
And Maddie, for collaboration, have you had an opportunity to collaborate in any of your classes?
Of course, in like all my classes, I've met a lot of new people, and I've joined the drama club, and I'm in the show, which is Macbeth, and I've just met a lot of people, and not just freshmen, but of other grades, you know, senior wisdom and stuff, and so it's been, yeah, really had good opportunities to collaborate with people.
Macbeth is going up in just a few weeks, isn't it?
Yes, November 17, 18, and 19.
Nice. I've seen a lot of rehearsals going on. Maggie Walker's mission and vision is listed up on the screen. Really what I would boil this down to is it's for students that are really interested in international politics, engagement, civic mindedness, current events. We are a school for students that are very world oriented. Students who want to become independent thinkers, who want to become ethical leaders, who want to become citizens of the world. And so our full day Governor School program embraces these values. For who can apply, it's a pretty wide open door. Anyone who is a current 8th grader in one of our 14 districts, we just brought on 2 new ones. The 2 new districts are Colonial Heights and Dinwiddie. It could be anyone within those participating districts in 8th grade, number 1 or higher, and having a B grade point average. So it opens it up pretty wide. For what's unique about Maggie Walker, we have events like Fall Festival, which happened a couple of weeks ago. We don't have any bells. We only have 1 lunch period for the whole school so that way clubs can get together, practices can occur. That way teachers can meet with their students in order to do tutoring or to do review for upcoming assessments. We have a lot of student freedom and a lot of potential international travel. Emma, could you tell the audience what one piece of freedom that you find pretty unique about Maggie Walker is?
So I will say in my old school there was definitely a lot of student freedom, and a lot of schools you like have to ask to do all these things. But the one thing that I feel like affects like my day-to-day the most is you can sign out of class to do whatever you need to do. Like if you need to go to the restroom, go to the nurse, get water, you don't have to ask, you can just sign out. And then also for study hall, like you can go wherever you want, you just have to like write it down on a slip of paper and so they know where you are. And so it's a lot easier to kind of collaborate with your friends too, especially during study hall or lunch, because you can go wherever you need to go to get what you need to get done.
What about you?
Yeah, I totally agree, and yeah, especially with lunch and after school, the school really just trusts you to be wherever you want to be. You can be anywhere in the building, I believe, until 4:30, and yeah, there's a lot of just trust in that you won't be doing anything bad.
We really try to treat our students much more like adults in order to give them those freedoms and those responsibilities in order to make them good citizens of our community. We really do pride ourselves on building a community of trust. For the academics, we really try for an interdisciplinary approach, particularly in the freshman and sophomore years. This is done through Global Studies 9 and 10. Global Studies is a regional approach to world history. So students are learning about Africa, Latin America, Asia, the Middle East. At the same time, in their world literature classes, they're studying pieces from those places in the world in order to be able to learn about the history of the Middle East at the same time that you're reading a book like Fountain and Tomb. And in fine arts, you're also complementing that through doing the art of a particular area of the world. Like I went to see a Raku pottery firing just a few weeks ago. That's a form of Asian pottery making. And so there's a lot of complementary knowledge that goes on between the global studies classes, the world literature classes, and the fine arts. But really our crown jewel is our international languages. We teach 10 international languages. I really can't say that about many other secondary educational institutions teaching that many languages. So a lot of students come to us because we teach so many languages. And for the STEM students in the room, we also have a huge number of different science electives as well as higher order math that goes all the way to the college level. On the slide you can see our 4-year languages, obviously the standard ones like Spanish, French, German, and Latin, but we also teach Mandarin Chinese through the AP level. And we have 2-year languages in things like Russian, American Sign Language, Arabic, Italian. We even get classical Greek to make now and then. And so some students who come to us that are really passionate about languages will even take up to 3 while they're here. And if you're currently in a Spanish class or a French class or something like that, often these credits will transfer to Maggie Walker so that way you could start off in Spanish 2 or Spanish 3 once you get to us. Emma, which of the language classes are you taking currently?
So I was very indecisive. I looked at that list for probably like an hour, and so I just ended up doing Spanish because I feel like it's really applicable to like careers in the real world. But I definitely have friends, like I have one friend who was thinking about doing online PE and no study hall so they could do, I think, Chinese, Arabic, and Spanish next year. So there's definitely like a wide variety of things you can do, and people are really flexible about your schedule, so you can add like a lot of them if you really want to.
And I'm also in Spanish. My old school, I was taking Spanish and Latin, and I started Latin this year, but I just didn't find it to be the fit, just like for me personally in my schedule. And you have a lot of flexibility the first 6 weeks. You can drop it. There's no like hard feelings. It's not on your record or anything. It's fine, and that gives me flexibility to do another language in the next couple of years. So I'm really excited.
Some students are passionate enough to get some of these 2-year languages to make for a 3rd year. So I know, for instance, American Sign Language often has a 3rd level. So there's Japanese will be having a 3rd level. And so a great deal of our curriculum and our content is driven by student interests. So getting a start on college is a reason that a lot of students are drawn to Maggie Walker. We have 8 different courses that are dual enrollments through VCU. This means that they are recognized at all state institutions across Virginia. And they're taught at the level of a VCU course. Math, fine arts, these are a great way to get a jump on college credits and be able to put that in the bank for future years. Many of our students graduate with enough credits to come into college, either as a technical sophomore or some with actually 2 years of college credit under their belt. A number of our students also do this through advanced placement. We have over, I think that's low, I think we have 24 or 25 classes now in English, social studies, science, mathematics, international languages. Our AP exams really kind of run the gamut of the different interest areas of our students. Each year we have probably about 400 to 500 students taking AP exams and a total of 1,200 to 1,300 AP exams given every year. Now in our elective courses, this is where we have a lot of freedom. This is where the school is very nimble in being able to provide for students who have a particular area of interest to be able to engage with a teacher who has that as a passion area. For instance, when I was teaching in the social studies department, I did a course called 20th Century Dictators, in which we looked at dictatorship around the world, anything from Idi Amin to the Pharaohs to the Ayatollah Khomeini, and did comparisons between each of these dictatorships, how it is that they use propaganda, how they suppress dissent. And through this class, students got a better picture of how 20th century dictatorship functioned. You can see some of the other courses that we've given over the years, anything from digital video to a film studies seminar that I would love to audit, photography classes, 20th Century Civil Rights is running this year. And so if there's a group of students that's really interested and a teacher who has that as a passion area, electives is a place to really drill into those interests. Up here we have the graduation requirements for Maggie Walker. Those listed in black are standard across the state, but where we go a little above and beyond is in those listed in red. Like in social studies, for instance, students are taking the Global Studies 9, Global Studies 10, and then they're also taking government and AP. But at some point, they'll take an elective. Eddie is a senior? And so, of course, it's his prerogative to show up late to the presentation. Eddie, might you talk about any AP classes or dual enrollments that you've taken either this year or last year?
Yeah, sure. Hi guys, I'm sorry I'm late. I was just at rehearsal at school. You were too, but I am a senior. So, yeah, last year I took a really interesting AP class with a wonderful teacher. It was AP Human Geography, and it was a really great course. It was super engaging. The teacher, can I say the teacher's name? Yeah, Mrs. Boyd, she just made the class really interesting. We brought in so many real-life examples, and she'd actually planned a field trip for us to do. Unfortunately, we still had a few COVID restrictions in place, but the trip would have been really engaging. It was just a great opportunity, and the AP classes really help you get pulled into the subject and get a deep dive into what you're really interested in.
And that's a really good example of a class that can be taken as your 5th social studies while you're at Maggie Walker. We've already talked about the language requirements with 4 years in one language and then 2 years in another. Something else that makes us unique is our freshman experience. This is a class we lovingly refer to as FERC. That's Fundamentals of Independent Research and Communication, and actually both Emma and Maddie are in that now, so I'll let them speak to FERC.
So FERC is basically like a 4-subject course, and you do one subject every year. So there's public speaking, where you basically learn how to like write speech outlines and give a speech. Social studies, which you don't actually do that much social studies in. You write a full, I think, 4 to 5 page research paper. And so I just started that one because the second quarter just started. There's science, and I think that's just like the basics of what you need for every science class you do in Maggie Walker. Yeah. And then there's also stats, which is just like statistics that, again, cover everything that you do for the rest of your 4 years. And I will say, like, FERC is not the most like riveting class, but it is really important because it teaches you how to take notes, how to study, and all these things that maybe you didn't learn in your middle school that are really important for like the rest of your successes in life.
Yeah, I totally agree. We just came out of the FERC speech, and I had never had any experience with like actually learning how to be a public speaker, and I'm still working on it, but it was really eye-opening, and it definitely built a great foundation, and I know I'll use those skills throughout all of high school. So.
Another thing that makes us really unique, and I think is a very special program, is our senior seminar or mentorship. Every one of our seniors gets to select whether to take a very niche class in their senior year on a topic that they're really interested in. These classes tend to range from about 8 students to about 12 students. And they can be on anything from fashion design to Arctic research to looking at sabermetrics, which is the study of analytics and stats in baseball and how they affect decisions on recruitment and development of the baseball team. Mentorship is an internship, which we have about 100 students out in the Richmond community, anything from working down at MCV to working with a law firm, to working with urban planners. And this is a way for senior students to be able to get out and do that real world experience and be able to put something on their resume. Something really impressive for going on to that next level once they graduate. Eddie, are you taking a senior seminar or a mentorship?
Yeah, sure. So I just got placed in my mentorship like a week or 2 ago. I'm mentoring under a historical preservationist at Maymont, and basically I get a study hall period and a mentorship period, which act as one full block. And so during lunch, I'll leave school, I'll drive out to Maymont, which is just about 10 minutes away, and then for the rest of the day, I'll spend my day there doing certain tasks. And as the year goes on, I'll start developing a research project, somewhat tangential to what I'm learning and what I'm doing. And they're there to help me every step of the way, providing insight, providing assistance, providing materials to research. And it's just a great opportunity to get out there and really get involved with the community.
And then last, we talked about the community service. As Emma said, it's 140 hours over 4 years, which does sound intimidating, but then when you break it down and it's 35 hours a year, that means less than an hour a week through the course of the 4 years. It's a way for us to give back to the community. And Eddie, Emma, and Maddie talked a little bit about community service already. What are you doing for your community service?
So the year that I came into Maggie Walker, like the summer freshman year and such, that I had a solid chunk of time dedicated just to the Goochland Library. And so a solid portion of my hours were just helping set up programs, helping with the young children who come in for the programs, helping keep them engaged, and I got a lot of volunteer hours doing that. But now I'm involved with a lot of the drama program, and you can get involved with drama by doing things other than acting, such as tech or props. For me, I'm the head of props at my drama department, and so that helped me garner a lot of community service hours that are going toward the school itself, which certain hours can count toward the school.
And so plenty of students volunteer with the SPCA, Habitat for Humanity, the food bank, all sorts of different opportunities in Richmond, but it does sound like out here in Goochland, the library is the place to be, happening place. Something I'm really impressed with, which is especially unique because I came from a high school previous to Maggie Walker where I was working where there was at least double the number of students. We have about 750 students in Maggie Walker, so we're relatively small for a high school. The number of clubs is pretty striking. We have 60, maybe about 65 different clubs, anything from Model United Nations, which is something that I sponsor at the school. It's a debate society for people that are interested in international politics, to our MacTech Dragons, our robotics team, our chess team, Model Congress, Scholastic Bowl. I know for a while there was a fishing club, there was a Rubik's Cube club for a little while. So as long as there's an interest and a teacher willing to sponsor, we have a club for you. This is a great way to make friends, make connections, find your niche. Any of you in a club that you would like to speak to? Yes.
So I am in a few clubs. I do art club, which we haven't really done a whole lot yet, but it's really fun. You can there are a bunch of contests where you can like design a Schoology banner or design a t-shirt, and then whoever wins has their art like featured on the Schoology page, or a t-shirt, or like a wall in the cafeteria that's dedicated to the art. And then I also just joined the Creative Writing Club, sponsored by Miss LaCroix, we love her. And I haven't really done much of that, but it's really nice to like go in and have other people go through your writing and just give you feedback. And even if you don't end up applying the feedback, it's still really good to hear others' opinions about like your ideas and how you write it out.
Yeah, I just joined chess club like a week ago, so I don't have much to say about that yet, but it's been really great so far. And I'm also in drama club, which has been just really welcoming. There's a big difference between the club meetings during lunch and the rehearsals, like if you're in the cast, but there are, different sections for different people who want to be in drama. If you don't want to perform, you can do costuming or props or anything, tech, and yeah, so it's been really great and really welcoming. You play a lot of like games and like icebreakers and stuff in the beginning, so yeah, it's pretty fun.
Well, plenty of people know us as an academic school, but we're actually a powerhouse in athletics as well. We have taken home the Wells Fargo Cup for the last 6 years. This is for the winningest high school in a region. Although we are small, we have just about any sport that you could think of for a high school. The one exception, which I will be completely transparent about, is football. We are really not big enough in order to field a football team. But we did take states in our region for swimming last year, as well as in both boys and girls tennis, and we also took states for cross country and track last year. So you can see the variety of sports that we have up here. We have between 60 and 70% of our students playing at least one sport. And so it's very important to realize that there is a lot of vibrant social life that goes on at Maggie Walker, from the clubs, the activities, to the travel. Next year I'll be going along with the students in our German class on a German exchange program in Munich, and we'll be hosting German students for approximately 2 weeks in the spring. So a lot of international travel experiences. We have plenty of support built in order to be able to help our students, guiding them with study skills. We have a mindfulness room to allow students to be able to take a quick minute in order to be able to gather themselves. We provide college exploration. We help students through the application process, career awareness program. So we even have an on-site school psychologist who is working with us this year for the first time full-time in order to be able to support our whole student, be able to support their mental health as well as their academic health. Eddie, you are probably deep into the college process at this point. Can you speak to, let's see, Williams, that would be with, yes, Loving. So can you speak to the college process and Dr. Loving?
Yeah, so I'll be honest, the Common App, which is the website in which you provide most of your details to apply for our college, it is difficult to navigate at times, but the counseling department has really helped me get into it. They have this, they host this college boot camp during the late summer as you go into your senior year, and they basically help digest every single part of the Common App and help you figure out what each part is asking for, and then give you tips on writing essays. Your English teachers will also help you with that. They give you tips on how to submit your scores. Basically, like, if I didn't have them, I would not have any idea what I'm doing, but thanks to them, I feel like I'm pretty set for my applications now.
We also have a full-service research library. When I got to Maggie Walker, I was really impressed with the databases and subscriptions that our library has. A lot of these access points are really on a college level, things like JSTOR or different quarterlies from the Hill, some stuff that is really advanced for research at a high school level. We also have a testing and tutoring lab. We have Honor Society tutors. We have groups like the peer mentors and the peer helpers to help students socially as well as academically. And there is plenty of one-on-one help available from the teachers. With the longer lunch that we have, about 45-50 minutes, it really makes it possible for students to be able to interact with their teachers and get the help that they need. Up here we have some of the important application dates. As of the 15th of this month, applications were available through school counseling. On November 9th, that's the date that I brought up. If the information that we've given to you tonight is of interest, please come to our virtual information forum. That's at 6 p.m. on November 9th. That will give you much more in-depth information about the school and help you to make your decision. On December 1st, the applications are due. We have our on-site assessment in January, and then acceptance letters go out in May. Our on-site assessment in January is aptitude-based. It involves some writing, looking at potential. We have shifted in that direction away from achievement testing to aptitude in order to try to identify the students that we believe will have the greatest potential for success at Maggie Walker. At this time, that brings the presentation to a close, and we are open to take any questions that you have for me or the fine students who have joined me this evening.
So competition for the applications, how many do you, I know you take 70 a year, how many applications is that out of?
So the applications come to me as the coordinator for the county. It can vary from year to year. I've only been in this role, this will be my 3rd year, and I would say over the past 2 years, acknowledging COVID, all kinds of weirdness happened, right? About 25 applicants.
Yes, ma'am.
So, like, how long does your school take
Our start is at 8:40 in the morning, and then our release is at 3:10. So it's a bit of a shorter school day. That's in order to allow for transportation. We rely on the transportation of each of the divisions. And so typically I get questions about transportation when I'm out at New Kent or in Petersburg or Goochland. And I'm guessing, Eddie, that you drive yourself.
Only very recently, though.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe one of you could speak to the transportation situation for Goochland.
So every single year I've gone here, typically they have, I think, 3 bus stops, and I'm always usually the first one to get on. The first bus stop is right in front of the school, I think it leaves at like 7:15 or 7:20. At each bus stop, it's there for about a 5-minute window. And then it'll go to the little car wash plateau at the Oilville BP gas station, or it's Exxon now. And then that's about at, like 7:35 or so. And then lastly, it'll go to the food line in Centerville, and it'll leave about 7:50. And then it'll take you right to school, and typically we get there at about 8:15. So we have a pretty decent amount of time in the morning to get situated, talk to our friends, catch up on work if we need to. So yeah, it's not that bad. It definitely helps now that, if I don't want to pay for gas or drive to school, the bus is always there, so it's very useful.
And for all of our seniors, driving to school and parking on campus is a privilege that we extend to all of our seniors, and plenty of our juniors drive to school and then park on the street, either on Moore or on Lee Street or Moselle. And so plenty of our students, once they get their driving license, do drive to school. And that can certainly help with some of the after-school activities too. Well, if you have further questions about the application or the admissions process, school counseling or Dr. Fowler can answer those questions because I know those often come up. But I did want to get a round of applause for our students who participated tonight. They did a wonderful job. And I'd like to reiterate that 2 of them came from rehearsals for Macbeth in order to be here. Oh yeah, we're on stage, aren't we? Yeah, we're in a theater. Shoot. Well, luckily I'm not in the production. I have been in the productions before though.
That's true.
Yeah, in 2 of them, Spamalot, and then I had a voice role in Laramie Project last year. And Emma interrupted her presidential campaign in order to come here tonight. And 2 of these students, for how well they presented, are both freshmen, so are brand new to us as of a couple of months ago. So I was just really impressed with them tonight. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Don't trip.
Thank you, everyone. I have been up here already and realized that I forgot to introduce myself when I walked out before, so let me start with that. I am Dr. Beth Fowler. I am the coordinator of advanced programs and equity for Goochland County Public Schools. So I have the pleasure of helping to coordinate the application process for all of these programs, and I will be available to answer any questions about any of them later tonight. Also in this role, I get to wear another hat, as so many of us do in the district, and I am the site coordinator for the ACA program. My presentation tonight is going to focus on ACA, but I can also speak to how some of the programs dovetail together nicely. And I'm going to invite Ms. Joy Ely, who is our Reynolds career coach, to come up here to talk with me about ACA this evening. You guys will see how closely Ms. Ely and I work together because we tend to finish each other's sentences. See? So Ms. Ely, gosh, this is your, how many years is it? 4?
It's my
4th graduating class. We are on our 6th graduating class of Advanced College Academy students, and these students are enrolled at Goochland High School full-time, and they are also full-time Reynolds students. It's a dual enrollment degree program with Reynolds Community College, but to answer a question that was asked earlier this evening, yes, our students do take all of their college classes even during the high school day and in the perimeter of Goochland High School. Most of those courses are taught by Goochland High School teachers who also meet the credentials to be dual enrollment instructors with the community college. There are a couple of classes that are online classes where they do have a block in their schedule in that virtual lab that Ms. Elliott talked about, where there's adults to monitor the behavior, help with any issues they're having, but the students in that room can be doing lots of different things, but it is part of their Goochland High School schedule as well. Being that we're in our 6th year, we have just shy of 200 graduates with college degrees from Goochland High School at this point. And so we're excited. Back here we've got our seniors like celebrating. They're going to break that line. They're going to go across and have more than 200 graduates, college graduates, and they will graduate college actually a couple of weeks before they graduate high school, surprisingly. So it's a very exciting time, and they are the 50th graduating class from Reynolds.
I wanted to make sure she got that part in there. It is Reynolds' 50th anniversary this year.
Yes, it is. So what is dual enrollment? We tend to throw around a lot of acronyms or a lot of phrases, and I know as educators that maybe we need to stop and unpack for other folks. So please, if there's any term that Ms. Ely or I use tonight that you're like, what is she talking about? Do not hesitate to ask me, what am I talking about? And we'll start with dual enrollment. Dual obviously means two, and when a student is in a dual enrollment program, they are not taking twice as many classes, they're not doing twice as much work, but they're getting twice as much credit for doing it. So these students are actually Goochland High School students and Reynolds Community College students at the exact same time. There are many classes they take that are predominantly in their junior and senior year that are counting for high school graduation requirements as well as college degree requirements. A perfect example is English. In the junior year, the students take English 111 first semester, English 112 second semester. In total, they're getting 6 college credits for those 2 courses, but they're also getting their 11th grade English high school graduation credit at that time. They get all the rights and responsibilities and privileges of students of both institutions. So they can be members of honor societies and clubs and student activities with Reynolds campus. They get access to the Reynolds libraries and all the resources that you would expect to be a part of a college campus as well. And what many of our students find invaluable in their junior and senior year is if they're struggling in a dual enrollment class, they not only have their professor here at the high school to help them, they get access for free to Reynolds tutors to help in those areas as well. So there are a lot of academic supports that they get from both institutions. Prior to being in this role, I served as the director of school counseling for 14 years here at the high school. And so I've been kind of involved in the conversations about ACA as long as we've been having conversations about ACA. And so this slide kind of brings in my counseling perspective for you guys, because I really do see ACA as having a 2-pronged advantage for students and for families. There's definitely a lot of credence and a lot of clout that goes with ACA when students apply to college. They are showing that they can handle a rigorous course load. The ACA classes, the dual enrollment courses, are weighted, and so they're positively impacting students' GPAs. And it really is carrying more credit and more clout than the individual one-off of taking just a single dual enrollment class, because these kiddos are getting, obviously, the entire degree. And that's a part of the application that actually goes to each of the colleges. So with any of these programs, when a transcript's sent to college, there is a description, a one-pager that describes the program they're a part of. And so for ACA, They get that ACA profile that explains all the rigor and all the things the kiddos have done and the whole degree that they've earned. And if they're ACA and Blue Ridge students, which the vast majority of our Blue Ridge students are also ACA, they actually get 2 program profiles in their application. They get a Blue Ridge one as well as the ACA one. The other advantage, outside of just what it's going to do for students in the admissions process, really has to do with the transferability of this credit to the 4-year institution. That transferability is not guaranteed, but as we say that, I also want to tell you we're standing on a long history of not only ACA at this point, but also of dual enrollment prior to ACA. And we see that our students are able to transfer these credits very successfully to their 4-year institutions. There's a little bit of a misnomer out there, I think, that they only transfer to Virginia state institutions. That is not fact, but it is fact that they transfer very well to Virginia state, our public institutions. And that's simply because there's this group that is called the State Council of Higher Education in Virginia that makes the community colleges and the 4-year schools play nicely with each other. And so it's a real easy transition to take a community college course and plug it right into that transcript on a 4-year college in the state of Virginia. But all of that being said, we've had kiddos go to University of Alabama, Baylor, North Carolina schools. These are just some off the top of my head where I know their ACA credits transferred very well as well. But it is completely up to that 4-year institution how they will take those credits. A lot of our families tend to think about ACA as starting college early to get out of college early. And that is true. That is one way you can use ACA. It is roughly 60 credits, and a 4-year college degree is 120 credits. So simple math leads a lot of folks to think, gosh, if I'm an ACA student, I'm going to get out of 4-year college with only 2 more years to go. That is not typically what we're seeing. What is more common is maybe for a student to graduate in 3 years in their undergraduate programs simply because they have to hit the requirements of the major they choose. This associate's degree is designed to meet general education requirements. So if you know anything about kind of your liberal arts 4-year degrees, the first couple of years, high school kids, middle school kids, I'm gonna blow your mind. You're still gonna take English, you're still gonna take science, you're still gonna take math, you're still gonna have some history. And that's the stuff that you're kind of getting out of the way with ACA, so that when you get to that 4-year campus, you have this gift of time. You can start right into your major, the classes that interest you the most. You have the ability to double major because you've already gotten all these other things out of the way. I'll put my other hat on for a moment. I'm a parent of ACA students. Y'all met Ann Fowler earlier today. She's one I can always make come talk. She is an ACA senior, and from the start, as a parent, I wasn't overseeing this program at the time. I thought to myself, gosh, this is going to save some money for my family, and it is. But at the same time, I knew I didn't want my daughter to graduate college at the age of 20 and go into the world of work. Life is long. She's going to have years and years and years to work, and that is not what ACA has to be. So our plan, Anna, no pressure, I'm saying it in front of all these people, is that within 4 years she'll have a master's degree after she graduates high school. And so it really can be, like I said, that gift of time, the gift of flexibility. She's looking forward to doing at least 1 semester abroad and maybe taking a lighter load while she's abroad to be able to travel. And ACA credits are going to give her that opportunity coming into the 4-year institution with them. Sorry, Ann. I'm going to let Ms. Ely talk about all the supports you get while you're in high school with ACA.
I'm sorry, Anna. I'd apologize for your mom for a minute. The beauty of being in ACA and working with Reynolds is that we have an intense support network for our students. I, as the career coach, work for Reynolds, not for Goochland, but I'm here from the Reynolds perspective to work with students in making sure that they are on the right path with taking their classes, making sure they're getting all of their credits, offering all of the resources and support that Reynolds has to offer to students. But then we also have a partnership with the school counselor, with our ACA psych director, Dr. Fowler, and then also with the faculty. So we have amazing dedicated faculty that work with our ACA students and teach our college courses here at Goochland. And we have an incredible partnership between all of the players in this program to just give the students all of the support that we need. And then beyond us, we also have a director of dual enrollment at the college who is familiar with the program and what students are going through. So a very intense, robust network of support for students in the program.
Thank you, Ms. Ely. I cannot say enough great things about Ms. Ely, and I want to make sure that everybody understands that she is solely the career coach for Goochland High School students. So yes, she's a Reynolds employee, but she is here in our building. She's dedicated to our students and making sure that all the things connect. You know, we talk about it as on the Reynolds side of the house or on the Goochland side of the house. She can see their transcripts. She can talk to their professors on that side, where if the professors are Goochland instructors, parents have free access to them, just like you would any teacher. But when we do hit those couple of courses that are online courses, those Reynolds professors are very strictly following something called FERPA, the Federal Educational Right to Privacy Act, that says that college professors do not talk to parents, they talk to their students. Well, Ms. Ely and I can often be a bridge between that, either getting the right document in your student's hand for them to sign so that you can talk to the professor directly, or getting a message to that professor, or from that professor back to mom and dad if things are going awry. So lots of great supports, the usual ones you find in a high school with the counselor and the faculty and so forth, but also some additional supports there, which are so valuable. We also like to talk about the benefits of an ACA cohort. And you guys, word is out. I told you, we're in our 6th graduating class. Our first graduating class, I think it was 22 students. It was right in there. In this senior cohort, we have over 70 students who are on track to graduate from Reynolds Community College in May. That is roughly a third of the senior class, and at this point, we have about a third of Goochland High School involved in the program. And what's so great about that is we have students predominantly apply when they're in 9th grade. And when you're in 8th grade, to start in 9th grade, and to be a part of that ACA cohort. And we put you together, and they start to hold each other accountable because they're going to be in those same sort of honors classes together. Humanities is a big thing, and we'll look at that a little bit later and talk about the humanities path. But that's a good place where the 9th and 10th graders start to kind of bond as a cohort. They're also put together in dedicated Bulldog blocks so that in this time that's meant for academic support and to work on assignments outside of their regularly scheduled class time, they are with other students that are like-minded, have similar goals, are in similar rigorous classes, and they start to kind of help each other out and hold each other accountable to make sure that we're going to make it across this finish line together. We also put them into a Canvas course by ACA, and so there are connections happening there, as well as a lot of information that will come from Ms. Ely and myself to students through those Canvas courses. So even though it is a cohort, we are at Goochland and we like to be as flexible as we possibly can to maximize the potential of every learner. And so the program is a cohort, but the actual pacing of some of these classes can be very individualized. It is rare, but we have had ACA students begin earning the college credit as early as 9th grade. Those tend to be our students who are most accelerated in world language. You have to get through 3 years of high school world language before you can take a dual enrollment 200 level world language. and the students who are most advanced in math. So, and you don't have to raise your hand, but if there's anybody in here right now who's an 8th grader who's already taken Algebra 2 honors, you would be eligible to take a dual enrollment pre-calculus as early as 9th grade. And I really just want to underscore this because sometimes people think about ACA as only a junior or senior year program because that's where the majority of the college classes fit. But for students who don't apply in 8th grade, they might miss the boat if they're already advanced, particularly in world language or math. So we really want to get more and more students thinking about, gosh, I need to apply in 8th grade. There is a summer course between 10th and 11th grade. Now the question was asked earlier, are all these classes taught here at Goochland High School? That one's not. It is taught by a high school instructor that meets the requirements to be a student success skills facilitator or a professor. That's what the SDB is an orientation course. It orients the students to what it takes to be successful in college, time management, the Reynolds resources that they have access to. You know what? I should probably just let the former instructor tell you what it's about.
Oh, that would be me. Yeah, just everything Dr. Fowler said. It is a student development course, or also known as college success skills. I think that was probably a more common term used years ago for this type of class. We have students take this before they start junior year because it is an introductory class into what to expect in a college classroom and what you need to know to be a college student, a successful college student. And everything that Dr. Fowler covered, from learning about Reynolds resources to study skills and different strategies, how to pace yourself, how to work collaboratively with other students. And also there's a section in there about a little bit of college exploration and also about how transfer credits work after you graduate. So they kind of get just a brief overview of everything they would have as a college student.
Thank you, Ms. Healy. I went into Humanities 10 today to talk to the majority of the students in there who are ACA students. And I mentioned their summer course, and they said, we have a summer course? So please note, there is this very brief summer course between 10th and 11th grade, but we do allow as much flexibility as possible. It has been taught for many years now as a virtual asynchronous course. We tend to try to schedule it directly after the end of the school year. So the first full week of summer vacation is when this kicks off. And in the interest of total transparency, it used to be a 2-week course. It can be done in 2 weeks really easily. We made it 3 weeks in case you have a vacation in the middle. So we really are here and working with families however we can to make sure that they can get that in there. I do see some faces in the audience from who had older students who have already been through the ACA program. You are familiar with there being 2 summer courses. This is brand new information, guys. There is only 1 summer course after 10th grade. The health class is gone now. So it is just SDV that those students take in that summer. By junior year, we're all picking up the pace and we're all running at full speed here, and every single ACA student is taking a minimum of 4 college courses during the regular school year here at the high school. You know, that there's a lot of rigor that's involved in that, and the students have been preparing for that in 9th and 10th grade, but I'm happy to share that we added a course in this year. It's an elective called ACA Study Hall. So if you're thinking about all this and you're thinking, my gosh, how is my kid gonna do all this and still play the bassoon? Well, they can have an ACA study hall to have some extra time during the school day to work on some of the requirements of the coursework as well. And then there is the potential, we'll talk about this in a little bit more detail in a minute, there's the potential that for some students that there's an elective that will need to be taken, and that can be taken between the 11th and 12th grade year. In the summer, again, it's online, very flexible, a little bit longer. It's probably going to be about a 10-week class, taught by a Reynolds instructor, so a lot of choice there is what we're expecting. Again, this is very new information from Reynolds, and on another slide, I'll kind of help you identify whether you think your student's going to fall into that bracket of students who may have to take an elective between 11th and 12th. Okay, so we love the word flexibility here in Goochland, and you're going to see a lot of flexibility as I start to share the curriculum with you guys. You're going to see a flexibility of math pathways that does not exist in any other ACA program. There are other ACA programs in other divisions, neighboring divisions. We have a very different philosophy here. We do not currently cap the size of our cohorts. So you've heard tonight that we'll probably have 18 to 36 spots for Blue Ridge. We'll have 7 spots for Maggie Walker. We have a school board right now that is very supportive of this program and access to this program for any student who is prepared to be successful in it. And I for one, can't say enough positive things about that approach to it. Because of that flexibility, we have math pathways, 4 of them. If you are starting pre-calc as a 9th grader, we got you covered. If you're not going to be able to start a pre-calc until your junior year, we've got you covered. And so we'll look at some of those. You're going to see there are a lot of online options for the electives as well, so that you can grab the thing that's the most interesting to you. There's still room in there for electives, high school electives. We're not asking you to give up your high school experience to be a part of this program. And we have built it in such a way that you can overlap ACA with Blue Ridge Virtual Governor School. You heard Ms. Elliott today talk about 8 classes, that Blue Ridge students take 8 classes, 2 a year. Not if they're ACA. If they're ACA, they only take 1 in their junior year and 1 in their senior year, because Blue Ridge recognizes the rigor that is already in this program. We've also built our CTE academies in such a way that they can dovetail, and so students can be in the Architecture and Engineering Academy or in the Energy Academy and still be a part of the ACA program. All right, this is where it gets real, everybody. It's a lot of information up here.
And this is on the flyer that was on the table.
Yes, if you did not pick up this flyer on the way in, whoops, that's not the flyer, yours is bigger. It is available on a table out there and you can grab it on the way out. What this is, we call this the curriculum card for ACA, and this is kind of a general outline of the courses that our students take. We sit down individually with our students, as do the school counselors, to figure out how it's all going to fit for your individual child to make sure that we get all the things in. But we're going to highlight some of the kind of hallmarks of the program. Beginning in 9th grade, we encourage, it's not required, but we encourage our ACA students who are not in Blue Ridge to take what we call Humanities 9. Humanities 9 meets every day, so students are getting 2 credits for it. It's on a day 1 and a day 2. And it's covering English 9 honors and World Studies 1 honors. So this is weighted credit. It's taught collaboratively. You're going to have the history teacher and the English teacher in there. And it's very similar, honestly, to what you heard about at Maggie Walker and the way that they integrate the study of literature with the study of culture or the historical time period. This has become a hallmark of the ACA program because there's a lot of presentation and a lot of research that goes on in this class, and it really prepares students well for what's coming down the pike when they hit the dual enrollment. I said that we suggest this for ACA students not in Blue Ridge. That's because the Blue Ridge course in 9th grade that's required is a history course. So that's okay. That's okay. You take your Blue Ridge history and just do a regular English 9 honors and you'll be good to go if you're in Blue Ridge. I do want to also point out that all students in ACA have to begin their world language no later than 9th grade. Most of our students, I'll say most, but maybe just slightly over half, are usually at their 2nd year of a world language by the time they hit 9th grade, or maybe even 3rd year. But as long as a 9th grader is in a French one or a Spanish one, then we can get you where you need to be for ACA, but you have to start that by 9th grade. And then I was telling you about our math pathways. I told you there are 4 of them. Here's the good news. Your child is not doing any more than one of them, so we follow them directly across. They do not have to take all of these classes. But the lowest math that a student can be in going into 9th grade and get the dual enrollment credits that they need for high school is going to be geometry. So a lot of places you'll see in print that a student has to be in Algebra 1 in 8th grade in order to apply to ACA. Yes, that is true. So students have to be in Algebra 1, but they also have to be in geometry in 9th grade. There's a class called Algebra Functions and Data Analysis, sometimes we refer to as AFDA, that if they are in AFDA in 9th grade, they're not going to get where they need to be in the curriculum to get the college math credits they need. So we really need to be in geometry by 9th grade. Again, you can see this is built for all kinds of flexibility. You could start earning high-level college math credit as young as 9th grade, or you can wait till junior year, and this one is a lower level calculus class. It's for the kiddos who are headed to statistics. It's not for the engineers and the physicists amongst us, but we can meet the needs of everyone through these different pathways. This is where the tricky part comes in, and I won't go into too much detail with you, but I'll be happy to talk about your individual child's situation. If your child finds himself or herself on this higher math pathway, they're getting 9 math credits between those 2 courses, and they don't need an additional elective. If your child is going this pre-calculus statistics pathway, they're getting 6 math credits for college, and they'll need an additional elective. So that's when the possibility of the summer class comes in between junior and senior year. It's a nice time to knock it out of the way if they need that elective. But we've built in all kinds of other ways they can get that elective. So they can get it through the higher level math. They can get it from AP credit in 10th grade if they took that Humanities 10 AP Human Geography test and got a 3 or higher. Guess what? You don't need the elective. Reynolds is going to give it to you. And it can be moved to junior year if you are a 9th grader in a world language 3rd level, and then, a 10th grader in a 3rd level of language. Then we can go ahead and knock out your world language and give you some flexibility elsewhere. So lots of moving parts. Like I said, I told you we love flexibility in Goochland, but suffice it to say, we can get you there. We can work it out. But I want for parents to really know kind of I don't want to say worst case scenario, but the greatest impact it could have on your summer planning. And what you're seeing right here is the greatest possible impact, that everyone between 10th and 11th grade is going to have this SDV 100 course, 3 weeks, asynchronous virtual, and then there's a possibility that a handful of ACA will also have an elective that they take in their summer after their junior year. But wait, there's more. So what we've been talking about is the general ACA pathway. Reynolds also offers an AS degree in social science that is focused on teacher preparation. And I'm using their phrasing there. I don't really like that it says teacher preparation, because it's really for anyone who's interested in education at any level and not necessarily even just being the teacher. It is a highly transferable degree as well. It doesn't vary very much from what we're doing, what we've been talking about tonight. It does offer internships for students when they take their Teachers for Tomorrow class here at the high school. It allows for a lot of flexibility at the 4-year level for a student who knows they want to go into education to possibly double major, so that they can get licensed to teach in multiple areas. So for instance, we have a current junior in this pathway, and he wants to be a drama teacher. So he's going to be able to major when he gets to the four-year school in theater, and he's also going to be able to major in something like English, because it's kind of hard to find a drama teaching job that's full-time. But a lot of schools want an English teacher who can teach a drama class. So it's going to allow some flexibility in there. It gives a head start on the types of spots in education that require a master's degree. So anybody who's interested in school counseling, being a school psychologist, a speech pathologist, a dual enrollment professor, come on back and teach ACA here, people. You can get your head start there, or being a principal or an assistant principal. This would be a great program for any of those particular interests. But I want students to know that it's still the AS degree that's highly transferable, and it is not locking anybody into a career choice of education. As a matter of fact, it's not very different. These are the only courses that vary from the general AS degree we've been talking about. They don't have to take a dual enrollment government first semester and second semester of their senior year, and they don't have to take a semester of psychology. They only take one semester of it instead of two. What they take instead is a geography course. Guess what? Go ahead and hit it. Cat's out of the bag. That AP Human Geography score can get students this Geography 210 credit. They take an Education 200 course, which is an introduction to education. I personally think this is great even if you're not sure that you might want to go into education, because mom and dad would probably like you to figure that out for the cost of this class versus the cost of that class when you get to a four-year institution. So there's that intro to education, there's an economics course, and there's a high school course that's required called Teachers for Tomorrow. But maybe best of all is that students that choose this pathway, there are going to be some possible scholarships there for them, whether they're coming from Goochland County Public Schools, or we've been in conversation with Longwood, and they have talked very favorably about awarding our students scholarship if they graduate from this pathway and then go to Longwood to finish their four-year degree. And then fellowship opportunities. Goochland is forming some fellowship opportunities to try to entice our students after you graduate to come back and teach here, because we know you're really smart because we did a good job. So there'd be some fellowship opportunities for financial support and even some job security after graduation if you wanted to come back to Goochland County Public Schools. So here's a big difference in this program versus the others that you talked about tonight. It is a tremendous cost savings to families, but there is a cost for the ACA program. But before we get into that, please notice in big letters here that tuition assistance is available to those who qualify. And qualifying generally looks like qualifying for free or reduced price lunch. I told you that myself and our school board are dedicated to the idea that anyone who can be successful in this program should have access to this program. And we're not going to allow money to keep anyone from getting there, okay? So just know that we can have those conversations. We've worked out payment plans. We have the financial assistance. So if the numbers I'm about to show you scare you a little bit, just know that we can talk through it all. So that's not what you're paying. That's the good news. That is the cost of tuition only at your average private school this year. Next one. $27,000, that's the cost, on average, for your child to attend a public out-of-state school this year. So like University of North Carolina, somewhere not in Virginia. A public in-state school, let's say a UVA, a JMU, an ODU, a Longwood, on average is costing just tuition, not room and board. So if you've got kids in college and you're going, that's not what I paid, it's because you're paying room and board. But the average public in-state student for tuition this year is paying just under $14,000. Your JSARG student this year, to take 30 credits, which is a year of this degree, is paying just under $5,000. And for those same credits on a JSARJ transcript, a Goochland ACA student would pay $1,500, okay? That is based on a projected $50 per credit hour cost. You don't pay it all at once. You pay it based on your student schedule for the coming year. So if your kid starts math early, you pay a little bit that year. If your kid doesn't start until junior year, then you pay a little bit more based on their schedule for that year. Currently, some of you, I know, have kids in the program. This year, they were charged $45 a credit hour. We know it's going up. Reynolds has told us it is going up. And this is projected. This is not guaranteed, but obviously we have conversations. We're projecting about $50 a credit hour for the next few years of ACA. We're hoping that we can keep it there for about 3 years, but all that is a part of budget conversations. Okay, thank you. So applications are now open. We actually, they're open until December 14th, if that's a Friday. They're available in the middle school counseling office. They were also emailed to you guys through Canvas if you're an 8th grader, and posted in your 8th grade Canvas course. So lots and lots of places for you to find them. The criteria we're going to be looking at, we're making sure you're in Algebra 1 this year and on track to pass it and to go into geometry for 9th grade. We're going to look at your grades this year. There are teacher recommendations that are required, and you have to show strong potential for rigor in these academic classes because we don't want to get anybody in over their head. It's a wonderful thing to be an ACA and start earning college credits, you know, early if you're ready for that, but we certainly don't want to push anybody into it if they're not quite ready for it yet either. And all of these programs, all 3 of them, you will find out whether you've been admitted in early March by way of letters that are mailed U.S. Postal Service to your home. There will be a separate letter for each one of the programs that you apply to, and you'll have a couple of weeks to decide, gosh, I want to do this one or I want to do that one. Remember, you can do Blue Ridge and ACA together. You cannot combine Maggie Walker with anything else because it is its own physical space and you'd be going to another building. But you get some time to ask questions and weigh all the pros and cons before finally having to say, thank you very much, I will accept this offer. Questions? And I'll ask the kiddos to come down to me. What was the question? Yes, sir. So I have looked at this closely before. I can tell you that mathematically it's possible. Like knowing you have 8 courses a year, mathematically it's possible to get there. I just can't look at my crystal ball to say exactly when each class is going to be offered in the schedule and that you wouldn't get locked out of something. But we work with those students as much as we possibly can. We have had one student who has been all 3, but he hasn't hit all the ACA classes yet. He's only a sophomore. So I can't say with confidence, yes, it's happened, but mathematically it could. Absolutely, and there are a lot of students who do that. And, you know, it's kind of like when you apply to college. As a counselor, I never would have told you to just apply to one. You're going to apply to as many as you think you might want to be a part of and figure out what your options are and then make your choices. Great question.
Can you use 529 to pay for it?
Such a good question. So 529 can be used. It is a little tricky, and I've seen it from a distance. Because you are paying this rate to Goochland High School, and then Goochland is paying in bulk this lower rate to Reynolds, you have to get a disbursement from 529 to you instead of to Reynolds to pay the lower price. But it has definitely been done. I'm not a financial advisor, please talk to your financial advisors, but I would just point out, like if you've bought semesters in a 529, one of those older programs,
I personally would not spend one of my semesters I've paid for on this low price. I would pay this low price and save that for when you get to the 4-year. Great question. Do we have questions for the students about how can you have a life and do all these things?
Do you have a life, Landon?
Oh yeah, I absolutely have a life. Yeah, so ACA it's pretty tough, I won't lie. It requires you to have good time management skills, and you'll develop that over high school. And by the time you're in 11th grade year, me personally, I'm taking 4 ACA classes. It's a lot, as I said, but it's completely manageable if you just put in the time and the effort. But yeah, I do have a life, I promise y'all.
Yeah. Now, what do you do outside of ACA and Blue Ridge, Paige? Do you have time for anything else?
Well, I'm in this room a lot. I am our thespian president this year, and I also stage manage our shows, and I'm tech directing the middle school show. And I've been doing that for a long time, simultaneously with ACA and with Blue Ridge, and it hasn't been a problem. It isn't that much different than even in my freshman year. I haven't noticed a big difference because I started doing the ACA classes my sophomore year, and I haven't noticed a huge difference in the amount of time I have out of school.
So I'm like Paige. I also spend a lot of time in here. I'm also a stage manager for the shows, and I'm the stage manager for the middle school show, and I'm the vice president for the thespian troupe. Yeah, I have a lot of time. I don't see a difference of where I'm oh, I can't do this, I have to go home and do my work. They give you a lot of opportunities to be successful and get your work done. So it's you definitely have a life, you have a lot of time.
So I am not a stage manager, but I am a cast member of our theater department, so I participate in a lot of the shows. But I also have time for a lot of other things. I have time to do my community service and be a part of different honor societies, and I was the head of the homecoming float committee this year. So if you saw the senior float, that was me. I have time to hang out with my friends and bake and sleep. I promise I can do all the things.
And a job.
And a job.
I made her work. She has a job.
Like Anna, I'm also a cast member, so I participate in Goochland Drama shows, and I'm also a thespian board member, and I am in lots of honor societies. So it's definitely possible to do things outside of school. I mean, I definitely have some longer nights here and there, especially in junior year, but it kind of works out, and I didn't really notice a huge difference in the change in rigor year by year. It's just it feels like the same jump, and you just kind of, as you grow, it gets harder, so you just kind of feel prepared for most of it.
The biggest thing that I found to be helpful is those virtual blocks that you get your junior and senior year to do your virtual classes, because it's honestly more than enough time to get that work done, and then you have a chunk of time in your school day to just work on schoolwork, or if you need to travel to see a teacher, sometimes that helps. I have found myself doing very little homework at home this year, which has been really nice, and it definitely minimized it a lot during junior year, just because I had a dedicated hour and 15 minutes every single day to get done when I needed to.
Guys, I have one more tip too. So, I know Dr. Fowler talked briefly about classes that you could take over the summer but that you didn't have to. Personally, I've taken classes over the summer the past 2 summers in a row, and I would definitely recommend taking advantage of that. This past summer, I took my virtual elective, which was, I took sociology, which was super interesting. And it wasn't all that time consuming either. It was something that I was interested in, which made the material seem really easy. And by doing that, I was able to get another check mark off on the list of things I needed to complete. And second semester, I'll have double booked early release here in high school. So even more extra time.
Landon wanted to share one of the things he does. Since y'all were all theater, we need to know that.
Yeah, so you also have time for sports also. Me personally, I play soccer in Charlottesville 4 nights a week, so I have to drive all the way, and I play soccer, and we'll probably run track for the school this year. So I promise you, you'll have a lot of time for sports, and I also work a job, and I'm in multiple clubs at school, so there's a lot of time.
I have a
question for you guys, because as you were talking about the workload, one of the advantages we talk about all the time is that unlike a four-year school, you guys are in a predictable group of classes at the same time. You're all in the same history, the same English and so forth. And our ACA faculty is very aware of that and have been working to make sure that they stagger due dates, or they're aware that it's tech week and you're all in the play and won't get home until 10 o'clock at night. Can you talk a little bit about the support or the relationship that you feel like you have had with some of your ACA professors here?
All of our ACA teachers are very, very good. They all they'll come in before school to help you out. A lot of teachers will stay after and tutor you if you need it. They're all willing to help you find time and to do well in their class.
Personally, I've gotten really close with a lot of my different various ACA teachers. If you're also in an ACA in Blue Ridge, there's a lot of overlap there. Like our psychology teacher that you have in junior year, she was a teacher that we have for our Blue Ridge senior elective in this year. So there's a lot of overlap there. You're able to really build a bond with them throughout multiple years. And like Landon said, there are a lot of teachers who are willing to come after. I remember I spent like a week straight every day after school on tutoring to prepare for a test, and my teacher was there every day willing to help me, willing to answer my specific questions and really just like listen and help. And if you're struggling even past that, like was mentioned earlier, there are also ACA tutors available at the Reynolds campus. I have a lot of friends who are taking advantage of those this year. So a lot of resources.
I know I used to think that like ACA teachers were so much different than like high school teachers, and that they were different, but they're not. Like they are your high school teachers, but they just teach you advanced stuff, and they're like any other high school class I've had when they're understanding, and it's not just about college, it's also about your experience, and they really help you out like every other teacher in the school does. So it's not crazy to deal with.
Any other questions from the audience? All right, well, I am sure, was that a question or just a stretch? Just a stretch. I am sure that these wonderful students will stick around and be happy to answer any questions in person from students or family members. I also want to share with you a reminder. Hopefully 8th grade families got a postcard from me that has some important dates on it for these application processes. One of them is November 8th, which is a virtual day for Goochland schools, and at 11 a.m. we're going to hold a virtual meeting for 8th grade students who want to hear about these programs from the student perspective. So we're going to have Maggie Walker students in there, we're going to have Blue Ridge and ACA students, and you can ask them, how's the food at Maggie Walker? You can ask them, what's it like to have friends that live in a county an hour and a half away from you? How do you have a social life? That sort of thing. Because we know a lot of this information tonight is academic, and that students might want to get some other pieces of the puzzle. So that's November 8th. And then I believe the next date is November 16th, when we, during Eagle Block in the GMS library, will be hosting an event that we call Advanced Programs Applications 101. And the counselors and myself will be in there, and it's a workshop. Come with all your questions, come with your papers, pull them out of your backpacks, and we'll help you fill everything out and answer any questions you have. That's what we're all about. We want to support you and make sure that everybody can get through this.
Can you apply for an ACA after 8th grade?
So you can, but like I said, it gets a little, the window of admission gets a little tighter, because if you're advanced in math and you're advanced in world language, if you wait till 10th grade to apply, you maybe were supposed to have already started dual enrollment in 10th grade. So it's really the best case scenario to go ahead and apply in 8th grade if you want to have that option and you want counselors keeping an eye on you to make sure that you're starting at the right time. But at the same time, we know that life gets in the way and people's ideas and plans change. So if you apply in 8th grade and then decide down the road that this isn't going to be right for you, you didn't sign your life away or anything like that. We're always here to recalibrate with you guys. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you so much for coming this evening, everybody.